Section 7.7, Applications using rational expressions and proportions. Objective 1, solve problems involving motion. A formula for motion. D is equal to RT. D stands for distance and it equals to rate times time. Example 1, a jogger runs 4 miles per hour faster downhill than uphill. If the jogger can run 5 miles downhill in the same time that it takes to run 3 miles uphill, find the jogging rate in each direction. Now, because these problems are lengthy, I took the liberty of filling out these problems, but I will explain them step by step. And you could push the pause button or rewind in order to rewrite whatever it is you don't get from my explanation the first time around. Okay, first of all, I drew this box here. I did the distance, rate, and time. Now, what I did here is said downhill, this jogger can run 5 miles. So downhill distance was 5 miles. Okay, now, when it was uphill, it's 3 miles. So uphill's distance is 3 miles. Now the rate, it says a jogger runs 4 miles per hour faster downhill. So it'll be 4 plus, and we don't know what the rate is, so it'd be 4 plus x. Now uphill, since we run 4 miles per hour faster downhill, so then that means we have to subtract this here because we'll run 4 miles an hour less in the uphill. So now what we would do is this here. Your time is the distance divided by the rate. So we would take our 5 divided by the rate, which is 4 plus x. We would take our 3 and divide it by the rate, which is 4 minus x. Now, we set these two values equal to each other as a proportion. So we'll have 5 over 4 plus x is equal to 3 over 4 minus x. And we will cross multiply. So we would take 5 times the parenthesis 4 minus x and 3 times the parenthesis 4 plus x. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times minus x is a minus 5x. 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times x is 3x. Now we solve for x. I added 5x on both sides, and I got 20 is equal to 12 plus 8x. Now I subtracted 12 on both sides, and that gave me 8 is equal to 8x. We divide each side by 8, and x is equal to 1. So our jogging rate is 1 mile per hour, and that is the final answer for this problem. Now, we go to the next problem, example 2. Now again, I wrote another box. It says the water's current is 2 miles per hour. A boat can travel 6 miles downstream with the current, and the same amount of time it travels 4 miles upstream against the current. What is the boat's average rate in still water? Okay, so now with the current, the distance is 6 miles. Against the current, the distance is 4 miles. Which you can see up here, 6 miles downstream with the current, and then it also travels 4 miles upstream against the current. So now the rate, we have x plus 2, because that signifies that the water's current is 2 miles per hour. So it'll be x plus 2, and then against the current is 2 miles per hour less because you're going against the current. So it'll be x minus 2. So now we will write this in time, our distance divided by our rate. So we would take 6 divided by x plus 2, and then 4 divided by x minus 2. Now we set this up as a proportion. Now we have 6 over x plus 2 and 4 over x minus 2. We cross multiply. 6 times, we'll put this x minus 2 in parentheses, and then 4 times this x plus 2 in parentheses. 6 times x is 6x. 6 times a minus 2 is minus 12. 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times 2 is 8. Now, we will subtract 4x on both sides. And we will have 6x minus 4x is 2x, bring down a minus 12. And it equals 4x minus 4x is 0 plus 8 is 8. Now we add 12 to both sides, and we add 2x is equal to 20. Now, we have to divide each side by 2, and x is equal to 10. Now, we'll write our final answer out as a sentence. The average rate of the boat in still water is 10 miles per hour. And that will be your final answer. Now we scroll to the next objective, objective 3. It says solve problems involving proportions. Recall, a ratio is a comparison by division. A proportion is a statement that two ratios are equal. If the ratio or two related quantities is constant, we say that the two quantities are proportional. Example 3. A person pays $297 for 6 months use of cable service. How much will the person pay for 8 months use of cable service? So we'll take $297 divided by 6 months and set it equal to. Now on this side, we're trying to find a dollar amount. So we have to line this up. Dollar amount equal dollar amount. Months equals months. And this is how we set up this fraction here. So we want the dollar amount for 8 months usage. So now we cross multiply 297 times 8 and 6 times x. 297 times 8 will give you 2,376. And that equals to 6x. We could put the dollar sign here. Now, we need to get x by itself. So we'll divide each side by 6. We divide each side by 6. These 6's will simplify out and leave you x. 2,376 divided by 6 is $396. So your final answer would be this person pays $396 for 8 months of cable. Okay, now, as a matter of fact, let me change this. I want to make sure. Okay, class, just in case you were not able to see this previously, I enlarged this answer to this person pays $396 for 8 months of cable. Now what I want to do, I want to scroll back up here to the previous objective, and I'll put this in bold to make it a little easier for you to see. Now, we're going to scroll back down here, and we're going to go to this section here. It says the cross products principle for proportions. If A over B is equal to C over D, then if we cross multiply, it'll be A times D is equal to B times C. Now, you can read this solve and apply problems using proportions at your leisure. Let's go down here to example 4. It says the weight of an object on Earth and the weight of the same object on the moon are proportional. An astronaut who weighs 160 pounds on Earth weighs 26.5 pounds on the moon. What is the weight of a person on Earth who weighs 24 pounds on the moon? So we would take 160 pounds on Earth divided by 26.5 pounds on the moon. And we set it equal to. Now we know we're trying to find the Earth's value, so that's x. And we have the value of the person, what they weigh on the moon, which is 24.0 pounds. You notice we have moon with moon, Earth with Earth. So we cross multiply. So we have 160 times 24 and 26.5 times x. Now, we'll take 160 times 24.0, which is 3,840, and that's equal to 26.5x. Now, we divide each side by 26.5, and that will give us approximately 144.9 pounds is approximately x. So our answer would be this person will weigh about 144.9 pounds on Earth. Now we come to example 5. It says the tax on a property with an assessed value of $65,720. Find the tax on a property with an assessed value of $162,500. So we write this up. We have $65,000 over $720. We have $162,500 over x, as we're trying to find the property tax. So now we cross multiply. 65,000 times x is 65,000x. Put that little comma here. And then 162,500 times 720. So we'll multiply that there. Now, we will end up with 720 times 162,500 is 117 million. So we have 65,000x is equal to $117 million. Now we could divide each side by 65,000 and x is equal to 1,800. So the property tax will be $1,800. Now, we scroll on to the next problem. It says here, objective 4, solving problems involving similar triangles. Two triangles are called similar triangles if they are proportional. We have two similar triangles. Similar triangles have the same shape but not necessarily the same size. Find the ratios of the length of the corresponding sides of the two triangles shown above. So now we have C over Z. C over Z is 3 over 6, and we can simplify that to 1/2. Then we have A over X, which is 6 over 12, and that simplifies to 1/2. And then we have B over Y, which will give us 7 over 14, which simplifies to 1/2. Now, because all of these are equal to each other, they are proportional. Notice that all three ratios are equal. Now, side lengths of similar triangles. The length of the corresponding sides of two similar triangles are proportional. So let's go through and solve this problem here. We have examples 6 and 7. The two triangles shown below are similar. Find the length of the side labeled x yards on a larger triangle. So what we could do is this. We could take 3 over 8 and set it equal to x over 10. You notice this side and this side is proportional. They're set equal to each other. And the 8 and 10 are proportional. So they're set equal to each other. So now we multiply. We have 3 times 10, which is 30, and 8 times x, which is 8x. So we have 30 is equal to 8x. Divide each side by 8, and both only has 2, and both has, when you divide this by 8, both of these have only 2 in common, which leave us 15 over 4 is equal to x. So it's 15 over 4 yards is equal to x. Now, if you do want to change this to a decimal, this will end up being, if you want to write it as a decimal, 3.75 yards. And that will equal x. Now you could write it as a decimal, 3.75 yards equals x. So either one, the fraction or the decimal would be fine. Now example 7 is basically the same thing. We have 7 over 8, 7 and 4 are proportional, 8 and x are proportional. We cross multiply, 7 times x is 7x, 8 times 4 will give you 32. So we have 7x equals 32, divide each side by 7, and we have x is equal to 32 over 7. And that's, I would suggest leaving this as a fraction because for one thing, you would have to do some rounding here, and it doesn't ask us to round, so we could just leave it as the fraction. Now it says example 8. Find the height of the lookout tower shown below using a figure that lines up the top of the tower with the top of the stick that is 2 yards long. Okay, first of all, we had two triangles here. We have the very big triangle, then we have this small little triangle here. The bottom of this triangle is this length here, which is 3.5 yards, and this side is 2 yards. So we will have h over 56 from the large triangle and set it equal to side h and side 2 yards are proportional, and then 56 yards and the 3.5 yards are proportional. So we cross multiply. H times 3.5 is 3.5h. 56 times 2 would give us 56 times 2. Now 56 times 2 is 112, and we'll bring down our 3.5h. We divide each side by 3.5, and h is equal to 32 yards. Now I don't know what these values is here, but I'll scratch them out. But remember, it was 56 times 2, which is 112. And when you simplify this out, h is equal to 32 yards. And that is the final answer.